ladies and gentlemen. I'm still a bit shocked about that extreme user experience that Jason was introducing to us. So, but it's great that I'm following his speech because I am talking about something very different. He has researched a lot into the 5 senses, and what I'm looking at right now is how we can influence the consumers in the way they think and by engaging them. Okay. So I'll just go back to basics 101. I guess a lot in the audience is from brands, from retailers, and we all the time that we are in the business, we want to build the brand equity, which is essentially driven by these 5 factors here. Advertising, the advertising that gives the consumers something to dream about, something to aspire to. And the person who is sold by the advertising will then try to explore the product by going into the shop or going into an e-shop, an e-commerce platform to find the product. So that's where they experience the retail environment that the brand has created for them. And then after that, hopefully they have bought the product, then they will be enjoying the product, so then the quality of the product becomes really, really important. And after that, good or bad, they will receive some type of after-sales service, and hopefully this person will then advocate the brand. This is what the brand wants them to do, is to spread the good words about the brands amongst their friends and their social network. So people who are engaged in creative industries are often helping brands with advertising, and more so now, increasingly nowadays, with the word of mouth. So what I'm trying to focus on today is designing communication. This has become very, very important because communication is the key, because this is how we tell the consumers about our brand values, and this is not, it's getting more and more difficult for brands to catch on because there are so many changes in our industry, in the environment, and how our consumers are reacting to the way brands communicate with them. So let's look at some trends, and we will then see how the evolving world is changing the way creative people are using their skills to help the brands. So these are the common tools that, that we all are very familiar with in digital marketing. There are the online TVC. Now that you switch on YouTube, you will often see a TV ad coming up where you can skip, and then you get to watch the contents that you're looking for. Mobile apps, we all know SEO, SEM has been around for so long now. The search engines are so powerful. Social network community, all brands have Facebooks, have Twitter, even LinkedIn's to engage with their consumers. Display banner ads, we all know. Mini branded films are more trendy, but still has been going around for quite some time. So I'm sure you are all very familiar with all those things, and I don't need to go into details, and you are already applying those methods. But in order to really find out what tools are the most effective, we should look at how the consumer's behavior have changed in the digital world, especially with their habits with handheld devices. So Jason has pointed out or has shown us a lot of shocking things that we can do, or very innovative things that we can do with the mobile devices. But even with anybody, even our parents are already using mobile phones in a very different way than it was designed for in the very beginning. So you can see that here, this slide shows that a lot of people has a second screen now. So while they are consuming media, the traditional sense in the traditional sense, for example, TV, or even listening to radio, they could be looking at their mobile phones, and that's the second screen phenomenon. And the other thing that we all know is the majority of consumers, they go to the mobiles, they go to the site of the, they go to online to research about products and services before they make any purchases. And a lot of that happens on the mobile devices. So with the fragmented media, no one is really paying attention to one single traditional media. You won't be sitting in front of the TV anymore every evening, and you won't be locked to one single media for more than 5-6 minutes. So the traditional advertising has changed in its effectiveness in delivering brand values to customers or consumers. This is a Nielsen global survey of trust in advertising, and was conducted only in 2013. And you can see that out of the 29,000 consumers that were asked to vote or to comment on how much they trust in advertising, there are a few very interesting trends that emerge from here. So online consumers place more trust in earned versus paid media. That's very different from the traditional world of advertising, when people would watch TV and then they look at a big production of TVC and then they decide to believe in it totally. Now the trust is earned. The content that is being posted online might not be distributed through paid media. And that is more effective, according to these consumers that were surveyed. And interesting trend also, you can see that on the word of mouth. It continues to be the winner, but I checked the data from the year before. It has actually come down from 92% to 84%. So our consumers are becoming smarter, looks like. They don't really believe in what they read about online. They don't just believe in reviews. And they are becoming educated, more educated, smarter, and they are less susceptible to cons. You can't fool them, and literally, if you fool them, they don't like you. And if they don't like your brand, they don't trust your brand, that is very, very serious for a brand. And they start asking themselves, they question whatever they see, whatever messages that you try to craft, they try to think for themselves, and then they would ask themselves if they really agree with what you say. So this is an era of very smart consumers, and there are many ways for them to make conscious choices to what kind of content they want to learn from you as the brand, as the retailer. There are tools that are online that allow them to skip your ad, that allow them to opt out, and this is something that they can do themselves. And in fact, I was talking to a student, I think he was 21 years old, and he was saying, why on earth would advertisers be creating TVC to put on YouTube for people to skip? And I was like, yes, I didn't think about it. Why are we doing it? Why are we paying people to produce a TVC for people to skip? And that few seconds that the user is being forced to watch that TVC online is the longest 4 seconds in their life, because they're waiting to see the video that they have searched to watch. And that's the individual choice that we have addressed. Now we look at how the search engines, which is the all-powerful thing in the internet, what are they helping, or how are they changing the environment to make the contents that we create for brands so much more, to make that it's important for us to rethink about the contents that we make for brands. So here's a quick number that we need to be aware of. 93% of all the activities that are happening online are actually driven by search engine. So like it or not, Google does play a big part in what you see. And Google is, of course, the global search engine, and in China, Baidu is the dominant one. So we, as consumers of the new era, these two players are filtering contents for us. So I think many of you might be aware of the changes of the search engine algorithms that are happening in the past years. In 2011, Google launched this Panda. It's an algorithm for their search engine to filter out low-quality sites. So it is no longer effective if you create a lot of low-quality contents with your brand name on it and expecting people would be able to see these contents. And then in 2013, it was just last year, they released another change, which is called the Hummingbird. And this puts more emphasis on the content again. It favors long-form contents, blogs, and contents that are useful, educational, high quality. So this changes the way advertisers or brands the way they craft the messages to ensure that they do get searched. They do top the search results when people get online to find out about them. And Baidu, the dominant player in China, is following suit as usual. So you can see that in all these years they have been evolving their search engine algorithms to help consumers to find the contents that they really need, the contents that are relevant to them. So with that, with all these changes in the industry, the changes of consumers' behavior, consumers becoming smarter, I would believe that content marketing is therefore the present and the future of communication design or design and communication for brands to reach their consumers. So what is content marketing? I think a lot of people in my industry would have heard this buzzword, and a lot of them are investing a lot of time to really try to understand this and try to get the brands engaged to believe in content marketing. So content marketing is really to provide valuable and relevant information and content for the consumers. And the objective is not to sell more of your products and services immediately, but to build trust, awareness, and positive sentiment amongst the consumers. So content marketing is often being compared with advertising, because advertising is the traditional way, and from the days of Mad Men, it has been working really, really well, and there are thousands or tens of thousands of people being employed in this industry of advertising. So let's remind ourselves what the days were like in the Mad Men days. And this is quite a typical example of what a TVC
new Master
looks
Duo
like.
Liquid Liner from Maybelline, New York. With our unique dual tip, go from thick to thin with just one twist. And 6 glossy shades.
I dare you.
New Master Duo Thinner Thick Liner.
Okay, so this is quite typical of what an advertising looks like. It has this kind of format has been going on for years and years, and this was actually just recently released. So the point is, if you put this TVC online, what happens is, if you type, I'm a consumer now, I go into Google and then I try to find the best eyeliner that is available in the market. While I shop, I search for best eyeliner brand. You will see no mentioning of that TVC. And no one actually ever goes online to search for a TVC. TVC is being fed to you while you're watching TV. But if you are still watching TV every day, then you would be forced to watch. But in this case, you can see that all the results are from the media and from the retailers, from bloggers, from reviews, but you can't find the Maybelline TVC. Now, we switch gear to another format of content. This is a Sephora tutorial. So watch a bit
First,
of
prep
this.
with moisturized lips and an all-in-one beauty balm that hydrates and smooths the skin while providing sun protection. This next step is optional if beauty balm provides enough coverage. Apply foundation starting from the center of your face and blending with a foundation brush, beauty blender, and fingertips. The brush alone will make it look too perfect. Using both tools and fingertips allow...
Okay, I think you get the idea. The thing is, these two formats of contents are trying to market the same kinds of product, but the approach is very different. So what are the key differences to these two approaches? Why do you think the second approach seems to be working better online than the first one? Okay, so I want to show you the search results as well. If I go in, I want to do the no makeup look for tonight, and then I type this, I immediately see the video topping the search results, and Sephora is not buying this search result. It is organic. So why is the second one working better than the first one? So let's look at how they differ. And this seems very simple, but it is still a struggle for brands to understand this, because so many people have been using advertising all these years, and advertising has been very, very effective and working very, very well. So the difference, one of the main differences is that in advertising, it's about the product. It's about the brand itself. It's about telling you what I want to tell you. So it's me, me, me. It's me first. And the content marketing approach is about the audience. So what does the audience want to know? What does the person who is searching online want to know? You think about them first and trying to answer their questions, trying to solve their problems, rather than telling them about yourself. So it's a you approach. Okay, and the second major difference is that in advertising, it is about building or creating dreams, aspirations to lifestyles, to products. So you will see that in advertising, in a lot of TVC, there's big production, original music, and very, very nice styling, but in content marketing, it's more about trust. So it's genuine, it's authentic. There will be people like ordinary people like you and I being featured in these videos. And the third one is that, as I said, the advertising, it's about self-promotion. It's about telling you about myself. But in content marketing, you're trying to educate. You're trying to assist the other person, assist the user, assist the audience. You are not trying to promote yourself. And the deliverables are also very, very different. In traditional advertising, it is usually very campaign-centric. You want to build awareness to the campaign. You want to build short-term success, and this is fair enough. Advertisers, brands would look at ROI of each campaign to ensure that the money spent on advertising is being recovered at the cash deals. But on content marketing, you don't see the result immediately. You will be building something a lot more long-term and something that you can't measure immediately after you have spent the money on building the content. So what content marketing deliver for the brand is the awareness, the relationship with the customers, the positive sentiment, and then the trust. So I think hopefully I have covered the differences between these two approaches, and I wanted to show you some best practices that are happening around the world. So this is KODW 50, which is an association or a publication by the Content Marketing Institute, and they have listed the 50 leading brands that are catching on this trend of creating contents. They have become media themselves, and they are creating contents, skipping the traditional media directly to their consumers and audience. So you see that a lot of familiar brands that we are all we all know of are already on this list. And how do they do it? What do they do? So website, every brand has a website nowadays. So what is the difference now that you need to do content marketing? What do you do to your website? These websites are content driven. They are very different from your corporate website, from your brand website. You actually build contents like blogs and videos to enrich the experience of the consumers. They run channels. They run channels of video contents. And this is an example from Boots in the UK, and has been doing quite well in engaging their British consumers. And Lego is often being quoted as one of the prime examples because they have built a lot of content for children, for adults, for collectors, and it's not necessarily to sell their products, but their products, of course, often appear in these contents. And these are just some statistics. I want to show that with Lego, well, we are talking about over almost 3 million views on one of their top grossing video. And we are talking about 350,000 subscribers to their channels. So with all that big numbers and success cases, so what do we do as creators of these contents? I just summarized the process, which is very simple. We need to plan the content, we need to schedule the release, we need to produce the content, and then we need to distribute the content, leverage the social network, and at the end we need to measure. And of course the data feeds back to how you plan the next stage of your content. And as I would imagine most of the audience here is in the creative industry, so we are mostly likely to be engaged in the production of the contents. So in producing the contents, there are some just quick tips on how they differ from the traditional advertising. Firstly, the format is very different. Infographics has become very, very popular in content marketing because it contains a lot of information, useful things that people actually want to keep. They would clip it for future use. Video, bite-sized, mobile-friendly, as you can expect, most people would be reading these contents, consuming these contents on their mobile devices. And then the themes, instead of big advertising production, what you want to do is more like tutorials, how-tos, knowledge sharing, and also blogs and opinions, interviews of personalities, real authentic comments from real consumers. So these are some examples. And how do creative talents keep up? I think a lot of creative talents are now pretty confused because if they have been working in advertising for so many years, they find that a lot of their skills need to be adapted, and a new thinking model they need to adopt a new thinking model in order to catch on, to keep up with this trend. And these are the often quoted skills that traditional creative talents in the communication industry need to be aware of. You need to work really fast. You need to be very prolific. Often we say the more the merrier. And you have to be very consistent in the way you deliver the contents. You have to be socially and culturally aware. You have to know what's going on in the world, what people care about. And you don't, like, versus traditional, aesthetics no longer is the key. It is important, but it's not the key anymore. And instead, you need storytelling skills. You work more like a journalist than the traditional advertising professional, and you need to work across disciplines. So it is not me saying it. I wanted to put a quote to end my presentation. This is actually from one of the most powerful person in the advertising world, the creative officer, chief creative officer of BBDO, actually saying, "You're seeing a new combination of art director, writer, camera operator, editor emerge. It's more entrepreneurial, guerrilla approach, and it's liberating for our people. You think of it, you make it, you get it out there." So, and I know we don't have a lot of time, so I wanted to end this by saying, if there's one thing that you want to take away from this presentation is if you're interested in content marketing, this is kind of the Bible to read. YouTube has just released the YouTube's Creator Playbook for brands this last quarter. And it's a 100-page document that tells you all the secrets of how successful content marketing create contents that are relevant to users. And I think that's it for today from me. You will notice that I have said nothing about myself and nothing about my company because I want to play true to the spirit of content marketing. It is about you, it's not about me. Thank you.
Thank you, Bonnie. That's fascinating. Are there any questions from the audience first? Can I ask you a quick question then? You talk about story and storytelling being very important, and I think narratives these days are massively important. Is there a story structure that tends to work really well for content marketing? Is there a particular type of story that works really well against others?
I often advise my clients to think of one single theme or one single type of educational concept that they want to deliver to the consumers, and the consumers can relate back to their business immediately. And I think I want to quote one example from Walmart. I think they have shot over 50 videos just on steaks. Anything, steaks, how to barbecue it, how to make sure you buy the right steak for the right occasion, and how to have steak dinners under $5, all sorts of topics on steaks. And this series of video has built up a trust to the brand that they are the leader in selling steaks without actually saying so in that way. So I think to answer your question is to pick something, just one single thing, and really consistently deliver all sorts of different concepts around that concept, content around that concept, and do it with an educational approach.
So it's different approaches to that same topic.
Yeah.
It's not just quantity that's doing it.
Quantity is also very important.
All right. Sorry, I'm keeping an eye out. And then I know you said you didn't talk about yourself or your clients, but how are your clients responding to the need for more content marketing versus advertising? Because a lot of people will still be talking about, make me an advert for this. How do you broach the subject of content marketing?
I have to say it has not been easy trying to explain to clients that they need to produce contents that are not necessarily bringing them immediate sales, and clients are slowly converting, but it is difficult when you can't measure the success. Like trust and awareness, it doesn't get reflected in the brand equity immediately. But I think the world is, or the best practices that we can see with the leading brands are showing the positive results, and it would just be sooner or later that they will catch on.
So is it more about awareness or is it more about acquisition?
It's more about what?
Is it more about awareness or is it more about acquisition, acquiring customers versus building awareness of your brand?
It's about awareness and trust. And I think one major point that I might not have explained enough is that in the online world, trust issue is very important. When you go online, you immediately think, nowadays, you immediately think some of the contents are fixed, some of them are being seeded by the competitors, and you need to have your own voice. The brand needs to have an own voice, their own channel, showing their customers exactly who they are, not what they're trying to sell, but who they are, their real identity.
And beyond video, is there another medium that you think is more important, as important, will take off?
I think yes, blogs obviously is very important, but I think blog does not work as well as video on the mobile devices, and also it depends on the nature of your business. If you're in B2B, while the consumers or your customers would be doing a lot more thinking before they make a purchase, then blogs, long form contents are dissertations, white papers are very, very important. But for consumer products like cosmetics, then as Jason has pointed out about the 5 senses, then probably video is the more direct and effective format.
Great. Yeah. Thank you very much. If there, oh, hang on a second, sorry. One question on the floor. Could you wait? Sorry, could you wait for the microphone? Thank you.
Do you think Twitter covers that brand, the content information that you're getting across?
Yes, Twitter and all the other social networks are actually, when I explain the process, where they play a role is after distribution, when you're trying to leverage the social networks to bring in audience for your contents. So social networks are very important in the process, but more towards the end. Obviously, your Twitter contents, having your own Twitter channel is a great support to an all-encompassing content marketing strategy.
Can I just follow that up? If you have a brand website, in terms of talking directly to your customer from that website, is Twitter the format that should feed out of that website, or would you try and run a blog as part of that website? Well, in terms of talking directly to your customer with the social content, would you use Twitter as the format to talk, or would you run a blog within your website?
Okay. I think with the digital age, you can't choose where your customers see your content. You have to be everywhere. You can't say, I'm going to be on Twitter, come to Twitter. Because if that customer is not on Twitter, you can't force them. And this is especially in Hong Kong. I always tell, even my colleagues, I tell them, can you follow me on Twitter? And they say, I'm not even on Twitter. So you just have to be everywhere in the digital age.
There's one more question over here. Sorry.
Which generation is driving this change?
Which generation are?
So which generation, sort of age segmentation is driving this change?
Driving the change, okay. I wouldn't, I haven't read anything, honestly, about how, the different age group are reacting to this change. But I would say it's not the age group, it's the mobile device that is really driving this change. And the fact that now that you have a second screen, you can't force content on people, and the internet, the search, everything has changed the habits of how people consume content. I think those are the real drivers of the change.
Can I ask one last question that kind of ties these two things together?
Actually, one more point I wanted to say, because you mentioned the word segmentation, and it is often what I believe. It's no longer the most important to segment your customers, because with content marketing and with the way how consumers are perceiving the brands, you have to be who you are. You don't segment the customers and tell this group this thing, that group another message, because people find out. Because online, people are everywhere. You can't be different identity in front of different audience. So you have to really know who you are, and then really be that person.
So, sorry, on that point exactly, when do you produce too much noise as opposed to producing stuff that people will engage with?
Okay, firstly, you don't produce noise. With content marketing, it's so important that every piece of content that you are publishing is going to be useful to someone somewhere. So there is no, I don't think there's ever, too much. It's just that how relevant and how useful the information is.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Bonnie.